Alright, so basically my tutorial, I gotta turn this up just a tad bit. Um, I recorded with another device, and so it kind of like screwed itself. So I'm gonna just walk you guys through how we're gonna make a rhythm bass, like an old school rhythm bass, like AD, who else? Akira, Draco. Yeah, you get where I'm going. Like a subultronic type, like older rhythm bass. Old, like in fact, Um, so we obviously want to start with LFO. I pitch it down and do 1/4 because 1/4 a quarter note, and then you have 4 beats in your measure, right? So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Okay. So obviously we want to pitch this down. This is always my first step. Turn down the random, turn down the random. We're going to be using this. Turn this down, but we're working on this first. Okay, basic shapes. We're going to use a square. That's fat, but we don't need all of that. My thing is random amplitudes. I actually really like. It gives you a bit of a higher pitch, but you can obviously adjust this. Not too much, because you get some pretty cursed sounds if you adjust it too much. I don't know what I am touching. Hello? Reset. Sorry. Anyways. This is going to be different than the track I did put together too, because I'm making this from scratch. And it's not going to be the same bass. Anyways, so random amplitudes. It sounds pretty good so far. We're going to do FM. We don't want to do too much, because if we do it too much, it's pretty ear piercing. But we don't use this. I'll use brown noise every once in a while, but my favorite is personally classic bend. It works out the best. And like, you can even add like a vocode to it, and that's what I did. I like to keep it around here. I don't like to overdo everything too much. So right here is kind of done, but we're going to add a macro over here just before we switch over. And then when we switch the macro up, you get your eighth notes. So yeah, we're all done in this department. We now switch over to the effects. I always start with chorus. I will bring it down. Never mind. I start with compressor. I like to get it around like the 60s range, in between 60 to 65. Obviously without. You're keeping it compressed, and you're also keeping your little curve in the LFO when it starts off. And then we get our chorus. Okay, keep it 1/4. Depth down just to keep it, a little bit better. Mix down, maybe like 10 to 5 in your mix. We're already getting something crisp. Distortion we're going to put at the bottom. We're going to bump it really quick. You don't want it too much. It'll overdo it, and especially when you're trying to do like post-processing in FL or Ableton or whatever else you use. Just a little bit wonky. And then, sorry, I froze for a minute. So then your next step is going to be your phaser. I always do 1/4 again. So you want quarter notes. Your depth is too high. And right here is like the basis for a majority of rhythm basses is square wave, and then you add your phaser and everything else. With this put together, obviously you get that. You can change it. I like to add a macro or something here, so if I want to change up the sound during the track, that works. Also, EQ all the way at the bottom. We want to add a cut because we don't need no low end. I always like to do my sub separately. Works perfect. So as you see, it cuts out, but then we add, because we have the analog going, of course, but without the analog, we're going to get a lot more tones. So, let me shut it off one more time. I'm gonna show you this. So you're getting some good like pitch modulation, and that's what you want to look for, is good pitch modulation, because if you don't have good pitch modulation, you're not gonna get something sounding cool, you know. Low high comb is basically the combs filter is what I layer on. It's something I like. It's something that sounds cool. It's the shit. And yeah. And right there you have a sick sound. You can save it, do whatever you want. But like, play with combs, honestly. This is just literally the basis of it for those of you getting started with Riddim, who want to learn more about it, who want to learn more about dubstep, whatever it is that you want. You know, this is pretty much a basis. This is so simple. It is not that hard to learn. If I want to change this bass right now, obviously turn this down. There you go. And I'm just playing around with it. Like, there's really not much to it. I could go like this. Band spread is probably another one of my favorites. You can put it up, maybe halfway in between. That itself is cool. This actually, you know... And there you go. I mean, it's honestly just like screwing around with whatever. You could even do, like, instead of your phaser, bring a flanger up. And, like, turn your offset down and your depth down. Maybe not like that. Maybe do a band spread with... just something. And there you go. You got something new. All your LFO if you want to. It's a little bit too high for my liking. Too much high end. It's sick though. You can EQ it out, and honestly this is just a basis. Random amplitudes, you can turn that down. You know, it sounds a little bit more crunchy, but like... you get some more tones out of like using a random amplitude. So, yeah, that's just how I like to instruct. That's my point of view. Now let me go ahead and show you this track that I just made with a preset using the square wave and everything that I just taught you guys. Alright, so this is the track that I put together. Let me give you guys a quick rundown really quick. So, I have my kick. Obviously, I didn't rename any of this. Yes, I use cymatics. I actually, you know, the only thing I'll use a preset for, or presets for, is for drums. And honestly, I really like the cymatics presets for drums. Claps, these are all like from Discord servers, whatnot, you know. And then we just have some like some fillers, a chant, I didn't use this one. Didn't really see a point. But yeah, so altogether, I mean, we're going to look at this really quick. I'm redoing this whole thing because all my audio and everything is like terrible once my CPU gets overloaded, and that's for like everybody. But I have my kick. I use Soundgoodizer. It just boosts the volume, and it actually sounds really, nice and clean through the mix. Now, I do sidechain it. Let me see. Let me pull this up. So I sidechain it to my bass, and I use Fruity Limiter. So we just adjust it to what we need. Sometimes you'll add attack and like a little bit of a sustain and release, but I don't touch these three, period, like at all. And then for my kick, I distorted it a little bit. If I touched it anymore, it would have sounded really, really bad and distorted. There's no point. And then compressor, all that. Use the kick preset for EQ because it's nice. For my rides, for all my hats, I use Soundgoodizer. It just brings out the highs, makes it a bit louder. And then FX, I use Effector for reverb because I think Effector's reverb is top tier. Same thing for the ride, same thing for the hats. And then the clap, I did the same thing for Soundgoodizer, FX, and then I just used, I did this, I guess. I don't know what the fuck I did, honestly. But yeah, I turned it down. The preset that I used, I forgot the name of it, but it brought this up way too high, and it was kind of like ruining the mix of the track. So we bring that down. Our bass, so then I put Soundgoodizer, brings it out, makes it sound fatter, louder. FX, reverb, and then we put multi-band compressor. Just scroll through the presets. I'm not really trying to do anything too complicated. And then I put some delay on it. We want to turn the wetness down because if we don't, it'll, all clash together, and that's not what we want. We want something nice and clean. And then EQ, I EQ'd out the highs because highs, we don't need those washing out everything else. And especially because, like, if you boost it, it's just, there's no point. You won't be able to hear hats, claps. Hats are what should be taking up a majority of your high end, and not even that loud either. And then I showed you guys the Fruity Limiter for my sidechain. And then for sub, I just added Soundgoodizer. Obviously, there's no high end to it, but it does boost it and make it sound nice, louder, and it just matches the volume. I distorted this a little bit too. It doesn't sound bad. It's actually a little addition. My exhale, I just added some effector reverb. Then my chant, I boosted it, added some effector reverb. Now on my master, I learned this cool trick thanks to Basic. I didn't do anything to this because I didn't for some reason. But I'll just walk you guys what I like to do. I like to use the frequency splitter. I think it's really useful and super, super cool. And I just put it on, I just use a mastering curve. Honestly, that's it. Mastering curve, and it'll master it for you. I'm gonna boost these mids. I did a majority of my mastering already, but I learned from Basic one of the best ways to like EQ and like, I don't know, it's just a great way to kick out sounds and high end and things that you don't need is just by using a 3-band compressor, soloing it out. It sounds super cool when you solo it out. And not only that, it's also helping you pick out what's what's distorting, what's clipping, and what you need to adjust, and especially if you want to EQ further. So before I show you guys this track, I just want to do this really quick. I'm sorry for delaying this any longer, but this was the bass I made. And so basically, obviously that's just a straight up quarter note pattern. But what's great is that when you add your pitch to it, it just makes it 10 times better. And not only that, you're adding more flow. And then my LFO, I changed. And so you're changing that, and it's just a constant like flow and mix, and especially with your drums included, which I will show you because obviously that's what we're waiting for. We want to see the drop. I'm gonna zoom out a lot so that my CPU is saved, and without further ado, here is my track for you guys that I made.